Hey guys, Alexander Williamson here with The Secret History Living Inside Your Aquarium. Um, I just wanted to say hello, and today we're going to talk, well, about whatever you guys want to talk about, first of all. So, if you have any questions, maybe I've got some answers. If you want to know or see anything that is going down in one of my dozen or so tanks, let me know. But today, what I kind of want to talk about is specifically North American fish. So, I suppose that includes Mexico and South North America, so like Central America. But I'm going to kind of stick to maybe the Mexican border region, Rio Grande, and then United States up to Canada. And Florida also will be included, obviously, but I don't. I guess we could throw in the Virgin Islands and Guam, but really what I'm talking about is cold water to medium water. I mean, they could withstand 70 degrees, most of these fish, although they like cooler water. Fishy snowmen, hello. We'll wait for some people to trickle in. And basically, I have here. I'm not doing a good job of keeping a whole lot of North American fish. Let me flip this around. Uh, but I am keeping Ponwin. So let me get. I'm getting some morsels out of the one shrimp tank and throwing them into another. Um, the shrimp really like these peas from my garden. And I figure that by the end of the cast, we'll have some shrimp eating. So, since everyone always likes to see how the shrimp are doing on these casts, also upstairs, I have just an insane amount of plants. I went away for a week. I was in Canada assessing uh, dental bills and everything, trying to figure out if I could get cheaper work done there after the lightning strike. And Canada's a little cheaper, but not insanely. Probably because they're, everyone from the U.S. would come over there if it was that easy. Um, but I also set up my first outdoor pond or aquarium really last night, and so there's a couple things going on. I might save all that for another update video since today I want to talk about North American fish. And let's flip this around. So I got a really cool book recently, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And of course, there's like crazy fish like, paddlefish and gar and alligator gar and sturgeon that get 10 feet long. And yeah, those are really cool fish, I agree. There's beautiful trout and things like that. Most of them are not going to be what I would consider an aquarium, friendly fish. But this book is a great one. Whether or not you like the man it is named after, in the fish keeping world, there's quite the controversy about this guy. Mr. Axelrod, or as he's also known, Mr. Axelrod. So, a lot of people don't like him. But, despite all that, this book is 9,000 pictures of species that have been kept in the aquaria. And it's 1,500 pages. And each page has 8 photos. So some of them are doubles and things like that, male and female and stuff like that. But it has a great chapter, better than any other book that I've found, on specifically fish that people have kept in aquaria from North America. And so I'm going to use this book quite a bit in the talk just because it's so easy. I know it looks a little rinky-dink to flip through a book, but I mean they're decent pictures, they're color pictures. It's got the Latin name there, and so if anybody's interested and wants to go back and they're like, "What was that? Where can I buy it?" They've got that info in here. Now, I also wanted to say that there are some salmonoids or trout that have become landlocked, like kokanee or lake trout, rainbow trout, things like that. But they get too large, in my opinion, to put in most people's tanks. But some of them are really beautiful. I mean, like, there's a beautiful fish right there. And there's another beautiful fish right there. Uh, However, you know, when we're talking, I'm going to say about a foot is probably the biggest that we would go. And a lot of them also need live food and they need quick currents and things like that. So I've kind of narrowed down the list to ones that either I've kept or I've seen friends keep that are in the hobby. And I mean, all of these I'm sure you could use as great pond fish if you had the right conditions, like flowing water, some nice, real strong power heads. But yeah, so there are some interesting little needlefish and pike and stuff like that that are in this country that a lot of people probably don't know about. There's some really funky looking fish that are one-offs that only occur in certain watersheds or things like that. But the first one I wanted to talk about is the shiner. So the kind of like the glossy shining. But shiners are a huge family of, or a group of fish, and they are awesome in aquaria. You do need a little bit larger aquarium. Some of them can get up to 6 inches, some of them get 2 to 3 inches. It really just varies on the species. But I just wanted to show you guys a couple pictures of some of the shiners that I thought were pretty cool. So this one, which is known as the blue nose shiner, is actually fairly common in aquaria, and it has blue colors. Hey, welcome aboard, everybody. And if anybody has any questions related to North American fish or not, like this can be just like, I need help with nitrates in my aquarium, that's fine too. That's what this session is for. But I'm gonna just treat it, not knowing how many people are on board, not as an update episode where I go from tank to tank necessarily, unless someone requests it. But I'm just going to talk about some of the species that I found in this book and just some stuff from my personal knowledge and or collection over the years. But there's some really nice shiners out there, and there's a large selection of them in this book, because this book in theory is aquarium fish that are freshwater. Yeah, thank you, Swag. I really appreciate that. Let's get some candid time here. I really appreciate everybody's support, the Patreon support and the GoFundMe support. Normally, I would not want to accept money in what I view as not doing anything. In fact, I did less than nothing. I got hit by lightning, which is like, I mean, I didn't do anything. That doesn't provide you guys anything. If anything, it takes away from what I was giving you guys before. But at this point in time, when I saw the dental bills, and then I just had, had sets of MRIs and X-rays and CT scans, all of that stuff. Lorena, hello. All that stuff added up quickly, and I don't know when I'll be back to work, but that means that hopefully I can work on this channel. And maybe we can get some really good content. I can learn some other things like that. But hopefully tomorrow I get the all clear on my brain scans. They do know that the lightning went it did travel through my head. Turns out there is a mark on the back of my head, and my mouth and my teeth were just like in the path, and probably the different composites from existing fillings is what heated up and cracked teeth around and those teeth. Then it crossed down my back and down to my thighs. So whatever, those burns are healing up pretty good. Now they're kind of just lupus outbreaks, which I was used to before. When I hit the table, I may have herniated a disc in my back. I'll know tomorrow after the doctor. But I'm just grateful to be alive and to have my fish and to have you guys and to be able to even thank you, and happy that it's not a fun to support my wife being alone or something, you know, or funeral costs. I have a new look on life, and I want to go get some of these native fish. I want to do the things they're right out there. My most recent video up in Vancouver, BC, or British Columbia. I mean, you can see the beautiful fish that are out there, and some of them you can put in an aquarium, and that's what today we're going to talk about. But what's stopping me from doing that? You know, nothing. So I'm going to take each day as a gift. I mean, I felt that before, but I hope everyone here also can feel that too in their own lives. And hopefully my face will be back to being beautiful soon. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so the things like the Patreon, the Super Chats, all that stuff is really helpful, because right now my wife is like looking at me and she's like, really? Fish? You're going to the store to spend money on what? Treats for your catfish? And we have a $500 copay to the ER or whatever. And she gets that this is my hobby and my relief, but, and don't get me wrong, she's very supportive, and I'm sure this is hard. But, yeah, I think you guys are going to be a big part of the healing process, and I'm going to stop yakking about this incident. It doesn't pertain to fish in North America. So let's, you guys make me happy, and so let's just roll with this. I'm going to keep doing what I was doing before everything. And hopefully it works out and you guys are still find enjoyment. Okay, so here we go. Alright, so another fish group other than... There's three fish groups that don't get talked about enough. And the fish groups that I think are really interesting are pup fish in the United States, darters, and then... there's also the pup fish, the darters, and then the one I was speaking about, the shiners. So there are so many varieties of those fish, and some of them are really, really beautiful, that we can keep, as well as killifish and things like that. A lot of these fish only are 1 inch to 3 inches long, and other than needing live food or needing water that's 55 to 70 or 65 degrees, they're okay in an aquarium, especially if you find them. Yeah, spring fish are like pup fish too. The Devil's Hole pup fish are awesome and too rare to consider collecting. I agree, Vex and Cat. Yeah, the Devil's Hole, plus there's also, there's the Death... Oh, hold on, I need to silence the phone. Too many alerts from doctors and neurologists and things like that. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, so the other thing... Technically, we could consider with the U.S. Virgin Islands and all that stuff, we could consider sailfins, platies, mollies, with Honduras, Nicaragua, all of the Panama, Central American countries. And Mexico just has an abundance of killifish and things like that. But I wanted to talk about more temperate to colder water fish, stuff that I'd find like in Washington or you'd find in, I don't know, Chicago or New York. And the thing is, a lot of the times people say, oh, these fish are cold water fish. That doesn't mean that they can't live in, say, 65-degree water. They're used to that in the summer. And so a lot of them will adapt to that just fine. But for instance, here's a wild relative of a guppy. Um, but yeah, I had on my list the desert pup fish, specifically the Lusania goodii, which is now found in Texas, North Carolina, and Alabama, all over the South, basically, of the entire United States South. Uh, and it's just kind of it's a cool fish. That one's it's considered a bluefin a bluefin killifish here, but it can have blue all the way up top. And then next to it is another nice one, which is basically the Florida flagfish. These we do see in the hobby, and people do keep, and they're not just in Florida, they're also in Georgia and Louisiana, but they eat algae. And so that's the nice thing about a lot of the flagfish or killifish, pup fish, is they are experts at extreme living with water that doesn't need to be deep, water that can be stagnant, and you could assemble a quite colorful and nice aquarium with that. And then on the other hand, if you wanted to go a little bigger, like 90 liters or 40, 50 gallons and up, you could have shiners, you could have sunfish. There's all sorts of beautiful fish that we just don't really keep. And it's interesting that, like, of all these, we know the Florida flagfish, this variety that's been bred out for the hobby, but there are actually many, many sub varieties of this fish. Yeah, I do know that a lot of fish can take hot temperatures. Sunfish are one of them. I mean, it's all relative. So if you saw my recent video, you may know that I found some fish living in at least 110-degree water, if not hotter. And basically, those fish were, they were pumpkin seed sunfish, like these guys. Bluegills also can withstand some of that. Sticklebacks, here we go, here's a stickleback. They're all these like so-called sunfish are capable of that. Now I don't know how long they can withstand that, but same with the desert pup fishes. They can withstand at least 100-degree water for a time. And so if you have some sort of the hot pool video, exactly. So I mean, if you're living in Las Vegas and you're looking for something you could put outside, if you bury it in the ground and keep water on it and it oxygenated, you can keep a lot more fish than you would expect. You don't want to put like a 20-gallon, hey Bentley, you don't want to put like a 20-gallon container out in the sun or something like that. That's just a recipe for a problem. I know Vegas gets to 120 degrees or whatever, but they are there are plenty of, if you made a small pond where you insulated it even just in the ground, it would be okay. Somebody said, Brandon Dern says, Nevada has a few little natives that are super cute. Just be sure it's legal. Yeah, totally. Some of these are endangered. The desert pupfish in like the Devil's Hole and in Death Valley, there's only like 30 fish at certain times of the year, and then it goes up to like 200 or 300. And they have these swings in their population that are kind of crazy. But yeah, so just make sure that if you're going to keep something, that it's legal, or you're not threatening something endangered, or if it is something endangered, that people are breeding it outside of the wild, and you're not going to let it get in the wild. In Vegas, I know you guys are in the desert, you can have flash floods, so I would recommend maybe putting a net over the top of it if there's a storm coming or whatever. I mean, just, you don't want certain fish that can withstand extreme temperatures that are from, say, Florida, or one microclimate in Georgia. You don't want them getting out into waterways in Nevada or the Colorado River or something like that. Um, yeah, exactly. Vexing Cat pointed out the Devil's Hole pupfish is extremely threatened only in one cave type pool. Yeah, and they've tried to get them to breed more by putting artificial ledges in and things like that. There's a great documentary on the Devil's Hole pupfish, actually. It's on YouTube, and I can't recall the name because my memory's useless right now about certain things. But basically, it is a great documentary on talking about how hard they've tried to get the things to breed, and they seem to just breed on their own when they feel like it. At one point, their population got down to like 30 fish or something, down from 400. I think it was in 2005, maybe. And now they're back up to like 400, and they actually rely on things washing in from desert floods. But also I have a video that'll be coming out on sticklebacks. They move like little puffer fish. They're really cool little fish. They only get about 3 inches long, so that's another good choice. Pygmy Sunfish from the Carolinas are really cool. When you have them in a tank, you can sometimes get like one male that turns bright blue and black, and all the other ones stay kind of like a duller color in the females. And then they like have a region, and every morning they spawn. You can keep them in a 5-gallon tank. So Carolina, the okefenokee pygmy sunfish are great little pets, and they're in the hobby a little bit. Sometimes you can get these fish at pond supply stores, or even fish hatcheries for people like, it's not so popular here in the U.S., but, oh, hey, Betsy. But yeah, so like in Washington, people don't so much keep their fish in ponds on their yard, other than maybe some trout or bass. And there are some beautiful bass, I have to say. But remember, they're an aggressive fish, and if they're not native to the area, I wouldn't put them on your property unless you're positive they're not getting out, or a big aquarium with the proper things they need. Like, for instance, the golden trout only reaches usually about a foot long. And if you haven't seen one, I think we'll flip to one here soon. Might have already passed it at the beginning. But the golden trout is just incredibly beautiful. Why? It's telling me to rotate device, and it's already just incredibly beautiful. This goldfish with spots on it and things like that. So just, there's some really cool stuff out there. And this book also has some of the odd ones. In theory, these are aquarium fish. I don't know why anybody would want to keep some of these kind of boring ones. Maybe they exhibit interesting behavior. I don't know. But just like the Florida flagfish that you guys have all seen probably, that eats the blackbeard algae and the other algae supposedly, there are a lot of variations on it. And in this book they have the couples and how they mate and all that in here. As I said, I got this book used and at an auction, and it is just a great one. Here is one of the Nevada desert pup fish here. Oh yeah, even it says Nevadensis. So it's like a little blue one, and those are usually very territorial. They can withstand temperature swings. Then also, as I was talking about the stickleback, I'll put a video up with some stickleback pregnant females. They're very interesting. A lot of these fish you're going to find in the Okefenokee swamp or Lake Okeechobee, in between the two of those in the Florida Everglades and up in the Panhandle over into Georgia. I mean, there are just some beautiful fish too that are, I mean, this is not color enhanced. These are all photos from before digital photography here. And so, yeah, so back to shiners, the one that I was talking about in the beginning. People sell, oh, you have hoplo cats? Awesome. So tilapia store. Go ahead and type out your website, tilapia store. You probably can't post it literally, but put a comma where the .com or whatever is so people can check it out. I know you sell various stuff, but if you can't even do that, then maybe I can add a link later. But just tell them the name of your website. Other than the tilapia store. I think I found it on Google that way. But some of these shiners are really cool. Well, it's just the tilapia store, and then the normal.com, I think. Is that correct? Is it just tilapia, the tilapiastore.com? Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Tilapiastore.com. So he's carrying some of these, but they actually have been selling in Europe for a long time. They've been selling. Oh, great. So the Tilapia store is building a new site. Great for aquaculture and stuff at home if you're trying to build, like a garden or something, and then the nitrates feed the plants in the water, and then that oxygenates the fish. I mean, you can get a whole big cycle, and the nitrogen goes into the plants up above. But yeah, so here's some more shiners that are really pretty. Usually it'll have Notropus is a good indicator that it's going to be a shiner. But these ones I just thought were beautiful. These are Cardinal shiners, or rainbow shiners. And then there's like scarlet ones, there's blue ones. There's all sorts of interesting fish. And then in the same family, this is how much they can vary. The sexual, within the family, it's very interesting. They actually can look almost like the large fish, a grouper fish or something like that, off the coast. But that's on the large end. Usually they'll have a long, slender body with pronounced lateral lines. The rainbow shiner, the red shiner, those are all really great. Oh, Water Wizard, you have the Notropus Chrozomus type 2. That is awesome. By the way, I just saw this picture in this book, and if you've seen Star Wars, doesn't this look like a hologram? Like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sorry. So here's Rainbow Shiner here. Yeah, so that's the fish he was just talking about, but he's got a variation of it. There's lots of variations on all these fish. But this is kind of cool. There's also some interesting, like, Tennessee cave fish and things like that populate. They're close to albino. Some are true albino. Oh, good. Big Texas Tanks. Thanks, man. I'm glad you liked that video. I've got a lot more I've got a lot. Yes, in Missouri, shiners are used for bait fish. I know. So are sunfish, and so are sculpin and other stuff. Line top minnows, warmouth sunfish, darters, um, long perch. Long perch is kind of another name for like the darter type style fish. But I just thought I'd flip through this book for you guys because I thought it was great to see some of how colorful some of these fish are. And I'll just show you guys and chat a little bit about it. But you can just see here the pH, how long they get, what size tank they recommend. This stuff you don't need to worry about too much. But some of these fish are just beautiful. And I'm kind of just zoning in on the ones that are beautiful. Also interesting, a lot of these fish have weird lateral lines that actually drop down, or they have two. And so they can move really interesting. Here's a whole big old page of shiners. So these are all your typical shiners that you'd see in the hobby. There's the blue shiners. There's this one that is probably, I think, probably the most beautiful of the blue. It's the blue-headed one. And these are not threatened or anything. And I just think, why don't we have more of these? They only get 2 inches long, these ones, not even. And there's also a red version of it that I'm going to think of the Pillsbury Doughboy now whenever I look at that name. But yeah, I mean, there's some really pretty fish. Plus, there's also the subtly pretty fish that you could do in a really natural, like, floating river aquascape kind of thing. And some of them have beautiful finnage that I'm surprised local breeders haven't ever tried to breed out. I was really researching the last few days on, what gives. Why aren't people keeping more of these fish? And a lot of it comes down to that you need the live food. And you don't have to. You can train some of these fish not to need live food, but they do really like live food. And then the other part is that their colors fade rather heavily in some of these species when they don't have flowing water or whatever it is in their niche. So it's important to figure out what those things are if you're going to have these fish and you want them to look like. You do have very beautiful fish in Scandinavia. Things that you wouldn't expect up in the Arctic are charred, things like that, white fish. Some of them can be really beautiful. Just letting you know, my name on the Facebook group and Patreon is, Travis. Awesome. Big Texas tanks. Thanks, Travis. That helps me put things together. My mind is off the rails. Hi, Alex. Love your videos. Learn something new from you all the time, even though I have been in the hobby for many years. Sandy Doutry. That's a $5 super chat. That means so much to me. Thank you. That is $5 that is going straight into the Devon tank, which I've been talking with Rob from Flip Aquatics. We're going to be getting in some new baby Caridina shrimp. He's sending me babies, a mixed bag of babies. Also, I don't know if you can see this, but these are the baby reticulatus. These are the blue eye pseudomagills from Papua New Guinea, and these are reticulatus, pseudomagill reticulatus, and they're shaping up to be very, very cute little fish while they're small. Supposedly they turn darker and less attractive as they get older, but for now I've just kind of let them hang out in the shrimp tank, and they, these shrimp were born this morning, believe it or not, right here, these guys. And the other shrimp, you can see the next size up were born a week or two ago, and then there's another size that was born probably a couple weeks ago. But I've found that these shrimp tanks to put my starter fry in them. Oh yeah, flounder. To put my fry in them, it's great. Uh-oh, is that a dead shrimp? No, it's just a molt shrimp. Good. They're eating the molt. That's another note. This is off topic, but if you see that there is this exoskeleton of a shrimp in a tank, let it be. The shrimp will eat it, and they'll get lots of nutrients out of it. You can see I've got another pregnant blue dream. These are from Lucas Brett's line. And yeah, so these, I've got 4 of these reticulatus bluegill, or pseudomcgill, sorry, blue eyes. And they're still not big enough yet to eat those. That's one of the smallest shrimp over there. But I'll need to move them soon. It's just they're going to be a snack in any tank. And then over here, I've been putting my Aru2s in here. Yes, we do have some native shrimp. These are not them. These are all Southeast Asian shrimp here. Blue bolts have been turning colors, which is interesting. That is a pea, or a bean, a green bean from last night. Isn't that cool? They just left the skeleton of a green bean, just like the veins with extra cellulose or whatever it was is left. But in my garden, I've been feeding these guys peas and green beans. They can't seem to eat the outside of it, but they just love it. And oh, now we know that this gal is pregnant. You see those back legs fanning under her little side sheath protectors. That means that she's pregnant, so that's cool. And also we have some of the other I know for a fact that one of the other blue bolts is also pregnant, which is cool. And one of the golden ones is pregnant. But back to, so why I use fry, and you could do this locally if you get eggs from local fish or whatnot. You can take a tank that you leave just for shrimp and don't put any fish in, but look at all these seed shrimp and scuds and things like that. That is what the fish, these little fry, that and plankton is what they're after. I mean, you can see him eating little things in the water non-stop, and they grow so fast. So as long as you only have like 5 to 20 little fry, you can put them in a 5 or 10 gallon tank with shrimp, and it's just the perfect environment, because up here they just get eaten. Whereas here's some older blue eyes. Where are they at? These are a couple months old now, and that's where the other guys will end up soon. But yeah, so the other thing is I've moved some things around. This is off subject of the North American fish, but I've moved some things around. My green dragons are exploding in population. I am having a really hard time lifting things and stuff like that with my balance and coordination and motor skills. And so I had a what's it called, a python, but our stupid old house, the pipes can't handle the pressure change, and thus when the pressure changes, it pops the python off, and then the actual pipe starts leaking, which is just all sorts of not good. Also up in here, these are the Aru2s. These are from Gary Lang, just showing you guys. They around this time of day, they seem to lay the most eggs. I thought it was going to be in the morning after being fed, but yeah. Here's a bunch of green dragons, Plecos in here. Some are like dark black, and some are really belly and pink belly. In here you can see the mess they make, though. See that wood, the wood that they're chewing on? Each one just poops out like its own body weight times 2 each day in wood and in these green beans and stuff. So I need to gravel vac this tank constantly, like every 2 or 3 days, which is no big deal. But there are just hiding in this 20 long all over the place. I have probably close to 30 or 40 still of the green dragons. Here's the Arus. The male, let's see if he'll puff up. Sometimes he does when I start filming him. He just gets ornery and they'll either hide or, oh, there he goes. There you guys got to see, oh, see them puff up. But these are just beautiful fish. I need to get their fry to mature. Why'd he do it that way? Maturity, so that we can get these up into the nice planted tank upstairs. I was told by Gary to breed these guys at like ASAP right now, because they're at the age where they're ready to breed. And so right now, basically, we've got babies there. We've got baby Danios that I'm raising, and then also we have some leopard endler fry. So this is basically the baby tank plus the Arus that are in their own 4-gallon section. Keep up the videos and focus on recovery. I have to run. Everybody have a good one. All right, take care, Texas Tanks. Yeah, definitely. And I'm not usually one, like I said, for the charity, but I'm gonna not put up a stink about it this time, because I just don't know what the future holds, and I'm not working right now. But my goal is to try to do the stuff that I love and that seems to make me help me get better, and that has been just focusing on loving the fish and you know, doing all the doctor's appointments. But so here are the adult grow outs, or juveniles I should say, and then this is my selection pool of where I want to, like, which one has traits that I want. This has been so far the standard bearer of what I'm breeding, but I recently bred, so let's see if you can see. I'm going to stop talking about North American fish for a minute. Also, you can see the school of, oh, Water Wizard, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the super chat. That's awesome. Looks like he's got leaves and a fish and some peace. So he's got to make like a tree and leaf and likes fish. I'm going to pretend that's what's going on. But so you see these guys with the funky, it's like a false swordtail. That's what this generation was crossed with. So these are blue. Let me try to explain this again. Sorry, I'm gonna lose you guys if I don't. So first we have, this is my first cross. So this is F2, and this is a blue endler lyre tail that has been crossed with one of these leopard endlers, rainbow leopard endlers. So this guy here is the result of that, and I've bred him now with his father, who is right here. So his father right here, no leopardy tail, whereas this one has leopard spots on his tail. Come on, come into focus, gosh. It's like I either get color or focus. But in any case, this guy has leopard spots now, and he has that tail and fin up top that's more of an endler fin. So then I cross them back, and they are these guys. No. So then I cross them with these. Where is it? This one. Cross them in another tank with this guy with the kind of odd tail, just to see if that yellow long sword tail would come back, because some of these guys don't have their sword tail. Some of these Japanese blues, after I did this generation, so generation 2, 3, 4, wait, you guys can't see, 4, and then this cross, and then we'll go upstairs and see 5. So they've been crossed with leopard endlers, back to blue Japanese endlers, and then so back to Japanese blue endlers. Then they have been crossed with a wild type endler called a blue sky collection point from the wild that then bred in a tank in Germany. And so then, oh yeah, I wonder what I would get with my blue star and black bars. Well, those are real wild types. So I never cross the females with those for some reason. I don't know. I let the male of those go in with my endlers, but then I make sure that those males come right back, because I don't want any pregnancies going on later. And yeah, so let's flip this around. I'll show you guys the newest generation. This is F5. And this is kind of a project that I'd put on the back burner and given away or auctioned off at the local fish club most of the results, but now I actually started to see some of them, and I'm like, hey, I actually kind of like these guys. They have like a pastel color, and some of them are getting a nice leer tail, but look at this guy. He's got like the leopard up top, and he's got a leopard sword tail. So that's something I didn't expect. And then the only thing they picked up from the cloud, white cloud, or from the blue sky endler, was just extra length on the tail. So that's kind of cool. And here's another one of those relatives of a wild endler here. But this is the latest F5 or 6 now. And I think I'm going to try to separate these, but I'll have to guess, because I'd kind of lost track of the breed at this point, or the line at this point. I'm going to have to guess what the females are. And guess the sibling if it's either these ones or the other ones, because I only have 12 tanks, so you can only do so much. You need like 5 tanks for each generation to do things right. Also, this tank is looking cloudy because my tetras had worms in their spine. And you can actually see they're making their way out. I had thought that was a form of cancer, as I've seen it take the lives of other tetras, but apparently we found out in a veterinary fish book yesterday that there's a form of worm that lives in the spinal fluid of tetras. At home sick, I'm sorry. I hope you feel better. Let's see, and welcome. But yeah, so the worms are making their way out, hopefully dying. I hit them with flubendazole. This tank's crazy because I'm about to ship Betsy and Lucas and all the winners of the plant thing their stuff. I just have so little stamina that taking care of all that has been rough. Also, yesterday I got to go to the fish shop for the first time in a long time since I got struck, and then a week before that I hadn't been there. But remember my 2 lone female prey cocks, rainbow fish? Well, they're both up here now, and I got them a male. So they have a spawning mop. They're already laying eggs on the mop, and then I also got these fire ring or flame danios. I think that's what they're calling them. Don't know which ones they are Latin wise. They might be a selectively bred one, but I love my danios. Love me some danios. And some of these, the males really have that nice orange color to them that never shows up on camera. The next thing I really need to do is get a better light up here. I have a trade going on with a friend to get a 22 long with a matin filter already in, and then I'm going to turn that into purely an after stream. Can you help me master super chat Bentley? I can get it sent. Wait, what is going on? Oh, gotcha. Eleanor. Yeah, Eleanor, are you in the UK or something? Is that what's up? If you really feel like helping out, there's always Patreon, or I mean Alexander J. Williamson is my PayPal account if you have PayPal, if that's easier or whatever. Whatever, I don't know. So Bentley, I'd love you to come over and help me sort out some of these plants. This is the low tech, the low tech tank, totally low tech. Not even root tabs anymore. I yanked out what was left of those because the nitrates were getting high. This is kind of interesting though. So I have a carpeting plant taking over the filter intake, and I kind of like it. I'm gonna see what happened. Yeah, that would be great, Bentley, if you could come over then, because I have to cut back. You guys are gonna think this is insane. So I didn't have anybody take care of I had my wife's friend feed one day, very specific rations to each tank. And then I left things like beans and like stuff that they could munch on for a couple days from the garden. But this tank I left growing without trimming. This is just 2 weeks when I don't trim my high-tech tank. There was no CO2, and that was the problem. So no CO2, low light, everything decided to make a run for it to try to get to the light, use the nutrients out of the tank. So the nitrates went from 10 or 20 as their usual standing point to 0 right now. And now we just have, the Pantanal bolted, all my stem plants bolted. And so also baby fish are in here. It looks to be that they are since they're so teeny, it looks like they are probably celestial pearls, which I am very happy about. Also, there's some Endler babies up here. But yeah, so I need to get these plants sent out to people, and so I need to get all this cut and then sent to the post office. But with my issues in my memory, I hate to say it, but I might just have to take a picture or a video of the process and then tell you the names later if you're curious, because I just want to get this stuff out to you guys. And I know in my head, like, oh, it's a rotala, and then I'm like, is it a Vietnam pink or a sunset Thai sunset, or is it the Indian pink one? I don't know, or Indian red one. I don't know. So that was the brief intermission from the North American fish thing. Let me take it outside real quick. Just because I felt like the tanks are too crowded and I wanted to switch things up. So I hope I don't lose you guys here. But I have a little glass tank in the carport. It gets sun in the morning. Seems everything, I put plants in it and let them grow up first. But we've got meteor minnows in here, white clouds, and they seem to be doing super good. They're way more active than they were. There's also a guppy in here, just because she was a female guppy upstairs, and the last of my actual guppies. But there's mosquitoes laying eggs right into this thing, and I didn't have a spot to dig a hole to insulate it, and the sun was too intense. Up on this deck, the water was getting hot. Normal. Over in the shade more so than out here, because I did a trial for a few days and it was like 110 degrees in the water. I don't know why that number keeps coming up, 110 degree water, but the sunfish can take that. I can't. So I'll put up another video because I have the sunfish from the British Columbia, Canada. I have them on video breeding, which is really cool, spawning. But let's finish up the little North American fish book chat thing. I just want, let me just see what I missed here. Yeah, so let's see here. Oh, the sun's starting to come in and glare on the pages worse. But there are a couple other earmarks. Yeah, you guys should keep king salmon for sure. I don't know why that made the cut, but like a bass is too big. Oh, here is the golden trout from California. Now, this only lives on the Kern River and in Mirror Lake naturally. But the golden trout is undoubtedly one of the most beautiful North American fish. Reaches a foot long usually. Some adults only reach about 6 inches long. They do need a little bit of flowing water and lots of oxygen. No nitrates at all. No ammonia at all. Have a good one, Lorena. Thank you for stopping by. Also, we have some cool little catfish, and they're in the Shiner family, which is odd, but but they have been sold from Asia back to the U.S., which is interesting, as loaches and things like that. We also have some interesting needlefish down in Texas, Louisiana, things like that. These are all salmonoids, and they're too big. I'm not going to consider that these should be in the aquarium. I don't know why they say they are. They need at least 1,000-gallon tank, according to the book. So, I mean, they do that at Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop, things like that. So now we're getting into some more killifish. These are also found. These are striped ones. And, alright, Brandon Duran, you take care. Oh, native shrimp endangered now. Hope they recover, enter the hobby. Yeah, the native shrimp also not shrimp, but crawfish that live, or crayfish that live in West Virginia that are neon blue. Google blue West Virginia crayfish. Those are gorgeous too, and those are not in the hobby, but they live in the mountains. They can live out of water completely, or completely in the water. But we do have some really beautiful crayfish and crawfish, whatever you want to call them. This is an interesting one. These are darters. But some of these are really beautiful too. And I'd love to see them in the hobby. You can order some of these things. Here's more pumpkin seed fish. These are really beautiful. This is what I was filming in Canada. And then we have sculpins over here, which are kind of ugly rock fish, but they're kind of gnarly. They look more like saltwater fish. But these pictures do not do the pumpkin seed fish justice, or the bluegills justice at all. But the bluegills get pretty big, but the other sunfish stay very small, and the pygmy sunfish stay super small. The Carolina pygmy sunfish stay super small. Also, just check these out. These are really cool. Some of the little sculpins are really beautiful, and some of the darters are really cool. These are also known as like darter or long perch. And then in here we get into some really funky patterns around the US. And a lot of these live, like this one I was reading up on, only lives in one lake in Minnesota. So it is threatened. This one, check out the crazy little red dot pattern on it. So, I know I'm just taking you through a book which isn't very imaginative, but I think it's a great little book, and not everyone will get their hands on it. So this is kind of just a reminder of what we have in states, like in our backyard. This one gets to 5 centimeters, you know? That would be a rad fish for your aquarium. Some of these not even so colorful, but you can bet that there is interesting behavior with a lot of these bottom dwellers. A lot of these make nests. I was reading stories about keeping darters as pets, and a lot of people have kept them in the past, specifically like all the way back to the 1800s. When your aquarium, you just did water changes, and that's all they did to keep them alive. The main issue why people don't keep them is because they really do need live food, like baby brine or nymphs or something. But look at this gorgeous fish. I would love to have that in my tank. 16 centimeters, so I mean, what are we talking? That's like 4 inches or something like that. 5 inches at max. That's totally doable. Some of these are just beautiful. And then back to the sunfish. And a lot of them have these big eye spots. These can withstand crazy temperature swings if you were asking about Nevada. Then here we have, I mean, there's all sorts of perch and crappie and things like that. Some of them are brackish, would be a challenge, but most are fresh. These are all little little versions of the darters and sculpins and things like that. But I mean, there. Look at that. There's some really nice little fish in here. Some of them are pretty elegant, like this guy. It seems like most of them get 3 to 4 inches, and that I wrote some notes on this one. It makes little caves, and so it's great if you have a tank with pea-sized gravel, and it makes little hides and, you know, does its thing. But the Ozark minnow is another great one. The crescent shiner is a good one. The line top minnow, which is from Virginia and Georgia, those are great. And then the green fin darters, where are they? Up in here. There's a whole variety of them. Yeah, long-eared sunfish is beautiful. Check out this fish right here. I'm not sure what its technical name is, what it goes by, but that is just a gorgeous fish. 11 centimeters. That's bonkers. I mean, you could easily put that. That's like a 3-inch fish. You could have that in a nano tank almost. This book is called Dr. Axelrod's Atlas of Freshwater Aquarium Fishes, the 7th edition. So this one's from like the late 80s, early 90s. There are a lot of pup fish that have been discovered since then. There's also a lot of goodyads or live bears that have been discovered. Although what I like about this is it's old enough too that the pictures aren't photoshopped or like enhanced all crazy or anything like that. But I mean, look at some of these fish. I was looking them up online, and some of these you can order. This one's really beautiful. There was one that's like a jade green. Oh, here we go. So this one I looked up, and this is called the green fin darter. It only gets 5 centimeters. So, I mean, that's like 1.5 inches long. But look at this thing. It's absolutely beautiful. It lives at a neutral pH. You know, it lives, let's see, 18 degrees Celsius. So it's colder water. You might need a cooler for that. But if you live in the U.S., maybe you could just have an outside tank, you know, on your porch or something, and not put it in direct sunlight for most of the day. Some of these darters are just incredibly ornate and so small. And apparently they're not that hard to keep. They just want live food. That's the thing that people don't do. And that will keep them sassy and happy. There's blue ones. I mean, just these fish are just incredible. This is the chain darter, sailfin darters, jade darters. I was looking up, this book's kind of annoying in that it doesn't have the common name with it, so I was looking up all this stuff the last few days. But some of the finnage arrangements are just very interesting the way they've evolved. And yeah, so I just wanted to share this book with you guys. But look at this. That is gorgeous. And it only gets 7.5 centimeters. I mean, why wouldn't we be keeping these fish in a tank, you know? A lot of them don't even need special requirements, like at all. So apparently there's a few of them that we've been sold as from Thailand. They're breeding them in Thailand and they're selling them as pencilfish or loach or sunfish to the US marketplace, which is kind of insane. This one is just gorgeous too. This one is the Whippley. These look like rockfish. You know, this one, whatever, 2 inches. Just look at these stripes. I don't know why these aren't more common. And there's all sorts of essays online about keeping these fish. They were very popular to keep in the 1800s and into the early 1900s because they didn't have the technology. All that you really need is lots of water changes or aeration and low nitrites, rocks for hiding, and they are apparently very easy to spawn in captivity. I mean, look at some of the weird evolutionary adaptations of these fish. And they all seem to live around neutral pH. So I think these ethiostomas, these darters, should be in the hobby. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if I have overlooked something, but I've been reading quite a bit about them, and like things like the Pygmy Sunfish also are in this end of the book, but a lot of people have seen those. And here's some that are more commonly kept. Yeah, so that's a good question, Viola. She asks if they are peaceful or semi-aggressive. Totally depends on the fish. A lot of these pup fish are really shy. So they are hide and wait. All the flagfish and a lot of the killies eat things like algae. So you'd need like spirulina. Like they specialize into eating different types of algae and stuff. But they can survive off of spirulina. It's just not their choice if they can pick between like filamentous or whatever their specialty is, blackbeard or some other kind of algae. But yeah, I mean, there's just some really cool fish that the hobby does not have. There's also platinum varieties of a lot of these fish. Now, I didn't go into any of the crazy tank buster fish. These are all reasonable aquarium fish, minus why they put salmon in here, I don't know. But another beautiful fish right there. It's purple and orange, blue. I looked these up online, and people have been keeping these for a while, the male versus female. And it just said that you have to be careful that they don't get out-competed for food. Here, they've been selling these as Siamese algae eaters, which is interesting. These have been found on the market several times, sold from Thailand back to the U.S. as Siamese algae eaters. They do eat algae, but just no, that's not what they are. Also, there have been some fish like these that have been sold as loaches, and so it says to be careful, but I don't think it's not a problem I've ever seen or run into. I have seen Chinese algae eaters sold as Siamese algae eaters, and that's a big screw up. But yeah, some of these little sunfish and sticklebacks are my new favorite cold water fish. Some of the little catfish are pretty cool. This one gets big. That's the problem, is most of our catfish here get very large. We also do have, these are more desert pup fish. These are only found in Nevada. There's a lot of fish found in like one place. You know, very specialized fish. But yeah, so these paddlefish too are just awesome. Back to salmon. So I mean, that's the book. Just it's not comprehensive compared to what we know now, what we've cataloged and what's been kept, and just the fact that the internet now is the gatekeeper rather than Axelrod, and his empire of fish publishing. But I hope everybody's doing well. I need to figure out why a couple of these guys are still skinny. In my ruby tetrahorde, I might. Yeah, that's just the American section, by the way. I really need to get a good light for some plants. Those plants upstairs have gone bonkers. Also, I did something really dumb. I'll probably do a whole episode about this. But I put root tabs in here under sand, thinking that would be a good idea. And then I made this the catfish tank. So we've got the Plecos, the green dragon Pleco adults. And then we've got the Tatia mosaicas, which by the way are all doing phenomenal. They all were dewormed. They did have a lot of worms coming out of the wild and parasites, but some came out their eyes. That was really gross. But they are all fine, and they ate a ton of the babies of the Plecos that you see hanging out right here on the top of the rocks. But other than that, yeah, so the problem, the dumb thing that I did, I put root tabs under the sand, under the gravel, with catfish in a tank. Totally got disturbed. Now the nitrates are out of this world high. Whereas in this tank, there are root tabs in certain areas, and they stay to themselves. So, yeah. But this is kind of... I've let several breeding projects all come together into one tank, and now I definitely will never have a true line on these blues. But as I showed you earlier, you know, there's potential to pull a couple out like these two and do something interesting with them. Also, look at all these snails. It's easy. If you ever want to catch all the snails out of your tank, get some green beans, crack a pea shell open, and yeah. But there's a lot of mid-sized fish in here. There's a lot of male tiger rainbow or rainbow. Sorry guys, I'm starting to get tired. But here's one that mixed with the blue and the blue, Japanese blue, but stayed with its tiger genes or leopard genes. Whereas this is when it stays with the endlers, the blue Japanese endlers. So lots of variety, and yeah. So in any case, I just wanted to see all y'all's pretty little, I don't know, avatars, texts, whatever. If you're in the Facebook group, please feel free to post pictures if you have any native North American fish. If you've transferred cold water fish or plants into, you know, 60-degree water or something that's manageable without special gear and setup, yeah, I'd love to see that. Also, you want to see what a bad mistake I made downstairs? Okay, so here is my test tube from the tank that's full of plants. Here's my test tube from the catfish tank right now. In a week, it went from this to this. So lots of waste being made by those, and I need to do a water change like yesterday on that tank. So Anybody have any questions or troubleshooting they need help with right now before I go? I gotta, yeah, ouch on the water. I need to like do that now. I set up all the test tubes and I just came upstairs and saw them now. The sunnies I used to catch at my uncle's would eat just about anything. Yeah, some of the sunfish or the perch or the bass, those things are insane. Like tarpons are another one that just, they'll eat anything that fits in their mouth, or even that doesn't, they'll rip it in half and try to eat it. And they have spikes. But some of the cool fish like sticklebacks and pup fish and flagfish. But yeah, well, congrats, Technoala, on the buried shrimp. That is exciting. Thank you so much for you guys who are super chatting or go funding me. I had the news show up at my house. I guess the 911 calls go public, or they're released like transcripts to an online public, one of the databases, and then they saw that someone got reported lightning strike, and then they checked the medical, like who got checked in at what time and blah blah blah. But in any case, King 5, the big news channel in town, showed up at my house. So I think Betsy put a link to that online, and I mentioned it in the Facebook group. And they did a bad job editing. They got a lot of information wrong in a short time. But yeah, now I have like news reporters, like 4 channels that have all been asking me to talk to them, and I think I'm done. I think I'm tired of it, and you guys are my sounding board. Vex and Cat, you don't worry about it. I can't afford to help a lot of people that I would like to help. You know, somebody, whose channel was it? Go watch Fish Fam News, John Harding's Joseph Harding's channel, and somebody had a barn full of turtles, and it burned down this week because of a lightning strike, apparently, and all his animals died. That's somebody who needs help too. I mean, luckily his life is okay, his livelihood is okay, but his animals are not, and he wants to, you know, he's crushed by that. So, I mean, that's another spot where, just like you, Vex, I would like to give money to that guy. I'd like to go down there and help him, but you guys help me just by hanging out, watching the videos, sharing the videos, all that stuff is just... It's therapy to me now. Like, my wife didn't realize how much you guys meant to me, but you guys mean a lot to me, more than I expected for the fish channel on YouTube. And I want to stick with the history and research, and I may need to have note cards now rather than always having it right on in my mouth, tip of my tongue. And I'm just trying to laugh at it rather than get mad when I can't think of the word or when something weird's going on. Like, I can smell colors or like taste touch, which, like, someone will like scratch my head, like my wife, and I taste like blueberries or something. Really weird neurological stuff is going on. But you gotta laugh in life. So help me laugh, guys. Help me cherish nature. By no means do I think if you didn't want to contribute to the channel, that's a problem. Like Vex, like, you guys contribute with being here, watching, by loving and taking care of your animals. Pass that on. That's worth more than money. I don't even like, I mean, the whole reason that money's even involved is just because of how expensive healthcare is, essentially, and not working or whatever. But you guys mean a lot to me, and I know I've said that too many times. I'm starting to get tired, but I've learned that if I take a nap for an hour or two, I have a few hours of clarity and I can do these videos and stuff like that. Um, but um, yeah, so if you guys want to contribute to the channel, you can always do the funding in Patreon. My wife and I decided that that funding will strictly stick with my fish, with food, electricity, water, medications, all that kind of stuff. The super chats or any extra things like PayPal or whatever, that might be like buying a new fish or something, like checking something new out after we've seen what the bills are for the time being, like rent and stuff. But the GoFundMe is all, I mean, my friend is in control of the account. I wouldn't set one up for myself. But that's all going to bills, and if for some miraculous reason bills aren't covered, then I will definitely either see if I can refund something, or I don't know how that works. I've never used it, but or donate it to charity. Maybe give it to the guy who lost all those turtles and help him rebuild his turtle hatchery. All right, you guys. The GoFundMe can be found. There might be a link in the description. I don't know. I felt weird about it. I know I've just talked about it, which totally makes it so that I brought it up, and I'm a big hypocrite. I should have just not mentioned it. But there's a link on the YouTube on the. I'm sorry, guys. My eyes are hurting reading the questions. I get double vision. Yeah, I gotta lay down. I just feel bad that I'm not providing any income right now for my wife, other than the plants and fish I'm selling, which is a godsend that this hobby that she kind of rolls her eyes at sometimes has brought in a little extra money. Just even if it's just get her a latte or something, walk to the store. I can't drive right now. My pupils don't dilate evenly. And so my focus is off. But tomorrow I'll either be in a really good mood or bad mood, but I'll probably post something, a video or whatever, because I have my neurologist's clearance to see how much actual brain damage was done versus just like weird wiring side effects that hopefully should heal in time. And also the seeing if I did in fact herniate my discs in my back when I was thrown by the lightning. I didn't even think about that. My back hurts a lot anyways, so that was like the bottom of my list. But this table, where is it? Oh, Steve Foy, thanks, buddy. No, that means a ton to me. I've been in your spot. This corner of this table, coming through these doors, I guess it probably hit on my back and then my head bounced off the table. So, I don't know. I'm going to stop talking, you guys. I'm not making sense. This isn't about fish. I don't want to bring it down. But love you guys. I'll put up some of the other BC footage. And if the GoFundMe link isn't in the description and you're asking for it still, it's in a few videos back. It's somewhere. Or you can just hit like lightning shattered teeth or yeah, that one's just gone. Or I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I gotta take a nap. But thank you, guys. I'll talk to you later. We'll be on track and stop talking about this damn lightning thing and soon enough. All right, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your fish. And swim on. Hold the people and the memories you have. the abilities you have, even if it's just to breathe, or it's that you walk, that you have legs, you know, there's always something that could get worse. Same here. And let's cherish every moment when we can appreciate the things around us, the hobby, the simplicity, and the beauty. So spread that on, spread the love, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.